I can't believe it has taken me this long to get into one of the greatest TV shows in 2026. And now that the entire series is out, it's made so much better that I can watch it pretty much all in one go. And I don't even like Game of Thrones, but this I absolutely love. Take note, The Witcher and Rings of Power. This is how you make good quality fantasy TV. This is how you do it. Let's get into Knight of the Seven Kingdoms. So the story is about 100 years before Game of Thrones and follows Sir Duncan, and it is his mission to become the greatest knight who ever lived, and wants to take part in the jousting games at Westeros, and is on his way to the town where all this is being held. And on his way, he stays at an inn overnight to rest up and to resupply. And at this inn, he comes into contact with the stable boy, who has shaved head, quite short, but seems very polished and very sure of himself and knows more than he's letting on. But Sir Duncan still thinks that this young kid is the stable boy, and soon they sort of become the most unlikely pairing, and becomes like the stable boy becomes his squire and follows him to Westeros, and he takes him on his adventure to become the greatest knight in all of Westeros. And so they partner up, and he has to be vouched for by somebody like a royalty or prince or whoever to allow him to enter the games. And so when he turns up to this little town, he's looking around for some people that he knew from his adopted father's past to vouch for him to enter the games. And for the first couple of tries, there's no luck. He can't get anyone to vouch for him. Then he stumbles upon one of the princes of the Targaryen family, who tells him that, oh yes, I remember your adoptive father. He was really good, and so he vouches for him, but not with fair warning, because he realizes that he's not bloodline. He's been adopted, so he can't take on his father's like shield. He can't take on his crest. So he's like, right, you've got to go and make your own. And so he goes off and gets his own crest and gets his armor and starts building rapport with all these different types of characters all in around this little town that hosts the jousting games that will allow him to become the champion knight that he's always dreamed of. And the show is basically him trying to navigate this world of the games and the politics that goes with it. And he is the everyman. He is the common man who everyone seems to like and sort of circles around him and wants him to succeed and do well, and that are very supportive of his mission. And so he starts developing these relationships with all these different types of characters along the way, and away we go. So they do something very clever with this show. You don't really need to have like 15 different families. You don't need to go to like 5 million countries and get lost in where you're going. You don't need ice zombies. You don't need to remember all these different family names to make it a compelling and interesting TV show. What they do really cleverly here is isolate it into one area of Westeros, which is where they host these jousting games. And that is a really, really clever idea, because it keeps it intimate, it keeps it close quarters, and you don't have to do a lot of homework. You don't really have to know all the names. I didn't. I only watched the first season of Game of Thrones, and that was it. And so I didn't really know too much about this world. Now I do. This is one of my favourite shows, and because of going in cold, it's given me like a great introduction into this world. It's a great gateway into it. So for that, I definitely applaud them for doing that. Also, Sir Dunk is extremely likable. He is a very, very good character and fully formed. Like I said in the introduction, he's the everyman that everyone rallies around, and he's got like this quiet charisma and awkward charisma as well. So when he's up against it with the princes and kings of the world, he holds his own and gets support from these higher ups, these princes, and he is able to sort of galvanize the town around him, which is incredible. And it's one of those things that he becomes more of a symbol to the people because he's fighting for what's right. That's his core belief. He fighting for what's right, what's wrong, and he's protecting the innocent. And it all comes together sort of around episode 4, which is his breakout, I feel. When it comes to Egg, there is certainly more than meets the eye with this character. At first, you think he's just a stable boy working on the horses and treating them and training them and things like that, but he's a bit more otherworldly than at first glance. He knows a lot about the games. He actually informs Duncan's character a few times and is like, "Oh, actually, you need to do this first before you enter the games." And it's like, how do you know that? You're like 10 years old, and it actually pays dividends at the end of episode 3, where you have the big reveal about why Egg has his head shaved and why he is doing what he's doing. And it really pays off. It's one of those like, oh shit moments that is great writing that leads up to this point, especially when he confronts his family, Aerion Targaryen, fucking prick. I absolutely hate it. As soon as I saw him, I was like, this guy is an absolute dick. With his bleach blonde hair and his. Oh, I hate him. I just wanted to punch him in the face right then and then. And during the fight between Sir Dunk and Aerion, he actually gets more support from the people around him, from the town, because he's fighting back, fighting for the people, and again, doing what's right. And again, it's great storytelling because it pushes the story forward, but also reveals something about the character, and that's exactly what you want. You watch it not necessarily for the jousting, which I'll talk about in a minute, but you actually watch it for the quiet character moments between Egg and Sir Duncan. It's the moments when they're up on the hill overlooking the town and they're just talking amongst themselves, or they're in the party tent and they're just talking in amongst a big crowd, but it still feels quite intimate because they're just talking together with a drink in their hand and they're talking about their day, or when they're talking at camp and they're just quietly looking up at the stars and dreaming about big and greater things in life. And it is truly a tremendous, tremendous show, and they do a lot of things right. For example, when they do the jousting sequences, it's not a question of charging head on with horses and lances. It's very fast and kinetic, and a lot of skill is involved in the jousting itself. It is bloody, it's violent, and you can see it anguish and dread on the knights' faces when they're about to get sliced in half and killed. It is very exciting. It's spectator sport, and every event is galvanizes the town and brings people together, even though it's something very dramatic and it's blood sport. It's their gladiator. It's their blood sport. It's violent, like I said, and it's really great. And also, the royalty are actual royalty. They are also revered and loved, but also at the same time feared. And they're not trying to have like any agendas. They're not trying to push a narrative on you. They are literally royalty, and that's it. It's really well written, well crafted show that will have you cheering and pumping your fists in the air, especially in episode 4 when Sir Duncan when Sir Duncan is performing his speech and rallying people and trying to get an extra knight to fight for him, it really sort of builds you up, and your adrenaline gets the adrenaline pumping and going. And then the ultimate payoff is when Prince Targaryen rides up in his horse and he's like, "I will fight for you," and then you're like, "Fuck yeah!" At least I was anyway, and it was amazing. What an amazing payoff, and that's when Sir Duncan becomes more symbolic than just the everyman that everyone's rooting for. So it really works on multiple levels. Also, I'd like to say is, so the guy in the party tent for me is the standout side character out of the main group. Sir Lionel the Laughing Storm. He's got the antlers when you first meet him, and he's like sitting at the top table with his entourage, and he actually talks with Sir Dunk and helps him, and he's the life of the party. He's the one that people go to for comfort and go to for a release as well. He's the guy that the night that reminds people that nights are supposed to be fun and laugh at the face of danger. And he's so good and supports Duncan in everything that he's doing, and is a great side character. I'd love to see where he came from and his past, and like delve into his storyline a little bit more. But like I say, excellent show, and it's definitely well worth your time watching. Also, I actually found it quite interesting to think that this show actually had the kind of feeling of like a third person fantasy RPG or role playing game. Games like Fable and Elder Scrolls, it kind of has that kind of feeling. Like I'm kind of watching it and I'm like, I should have a controller in my hand here. It really does feel like it. It's like he goes from one part to another, very sort of RPG like. Yeah, and it just works on every single level. And I've only watched episode 4 up to episode 4, and I've just started watching it like yesterday. And I'm literally going to watch all the way through. And I hope to God that they do another season. And uh, yeah, it's so good. Definitely go and check this out. Night of the Seven Kingdoms, a great entry into the world of Game of Thrones, and you won't regret it. So, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. And please remember to like and subscribe to my channel.